Friday again.
I feel like we need.
It's
I'm too far.
You're grabbing the entire screen.
Screen
That's
grabbing.
what you're trying to do. So we're here again, another Mouse Scoops, episode 15.
Yeah.
1-5. Incredible.
Yeah, we're not going to mess about today. We're going to get straight on because there's lots of important information.
Yeah.
We need to. Well, I don't need to impart. Our special guests need to impart. So this week we are doing a special episode of Mouse Scoop about Disney with disabilities. So how to apply, what kind of things you need to take with you, what rides are accessible, how is Disney with disabilities, loads and loads of different stuff.
Yeah, and to help us explain all of that to everybody that's watching, we have two fantastic guests.
Yes.
And they are Emma from Pixie Dust.
Yeah, Emma from Emma's Pixie Dust.
And Sam from It's a North World.
Yep.
So, without further ado, let's bring them in. Hi, Emma. Hi, Sam.
Hey.
Hey, how are you both doing?
Good, okay, how are you?
Yeah, good, except for I can't get my words out today. Obviously, having problems with the old teeth, etc. On there. Great that you've just joined with us. It's fantastic, that is. And obviously we want to start and go through some of this stuff about Disney, etc. And in particular, the advice and the experience that you both have had as you've been going to Disney.
Yeah, and please, if we get words wrong, terminology wrong, anything wrong, please correct us. That'd be great, thank you. So we just wanted to start off with talking about both of yourselves and, you know, how you came to have a love of Disney, really. So, Emma, shall we start with you?
Okay. I have always loved Disney. I mean, who can't? As soon as you're born, you just love Disney with all the merchandise and the films. And I literally was obsessed with Oliver and Company and The Little Mermaid.
Oh.
And then I went to Disney with my nan and then again with Rob in 2016. And I just fell in love. And that was basically it. And then I got my mini obsession from my first trip with Rob. And the rest is history, they say.
Oh. And Sam, what about yourself?
Pretty much the same. Love Disney. My favourite thing to do was to curl up in my room watching videos, Disney videos. That was my favourite thing to do. Always dreamed of going to Euro Disney, watch the adverts. I wanted to be sat with Mickey Mouse on Dumbo, going round. Finally, after having our first child, Hayden, we went to Disneyland Paris in 2017 for Christmas.
Yeah.
Walked in, I was like, this is home, this is where I am meant to be, and it's just escalated from the trips, the merch.
So are you both castlers? Are you both criers at the castle?
Yeah.
No.
See, so Sam, Sarah's a castler, or at least a crier, let's go with.
Yeah.
And Emma, I'm with you. Yes, hold those tears back.
Yeah. I feel it inside.
Yeah, no, there is something special about when you walk through that entrance and you see the castle in the distance and you've got Main Street either side of you. And to me, it's the atmosphere, it's the memories that will always brings back, etc.
Definitely.
You know, it's just Disney for that is just absolutely stunning. You know, because my childhood memories are all of Blackpool, which are fantastic. But these are just different for our daughter, aren't they? Yeah. You know, she's been fortunate enough to have gone a few times. And so kind of like some of her childhood memories are completely different than the 3 Piers at Blackpool or the Golden Mile.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with Blackpool, but like I used to spend summers at Blackpool and everything, and it was amazing. But like the childhood that our kids have got, like Hayden went to Disneyland Paris when he was 7, and Estella's first trip was 18 months old.
Yeah.
Like she thinks it's totally normal to just go on holiday on a big Mickey ship. Yeah. It's you know, it's just a given to her. That's where we go where there's a castle or a ship. So
And what about your families and your partners? Is Rob a big Disney fan, Emma?
He says he isn't, but then as soon as we get back from a holiday, he's the one who's looking for new ones again. And he's saying we must watch the Disneys in chronological order, and like not just the main films, like the extra ones coming after that as well. So I think he is. Yeah, my family, they don't care really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Sam, your family all big Disney fans? Your kids obviously are.
Yeah, yeah, the kids obviously are. John is. John has got just as bad as me. It used to be me sat there going, "Oh, we could fit this trip in, we can afford this trip," and now there's just no encouraging him at all. He's just like, "Yeah, let's go." And then obviously my mum came on our first Disney trip with us and our cruise, and she was a huge Disney fan. She absolutely loved Winnie the Pooh and Mickey Mouse. So yeah, it's a really big family thing.
Oh, God.
Excellent.
Do you mind me talking about the people with the disabilities? Obviously, Emma, it's yourself with the disability. We don't need any kind of diagnosis, but it's okay to say that you use a wheelchair.
Yeah.
Yeah. So obviously you're in you can transfer out of the wheelchair, am I right?
Yeah. Do you need me to quickly say what my disability is? Would you feel more comfortable with that?
Only if you feel comfortable, Emma. I don't want, it's not a medical diagnosis thing, is it? It's just let people know what your ability is really.
Okay, so basically I have a thing called Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, and it affects the joints and ligaments and stuff, so I can easily just, let's say, pop out of place, and since 2016 that's basically what's happened with me.
Okay.
So I use a wheelchair mainly to get around outside, because you don't want to end up walking along outside and then just falling and then hurting yourself even more. So that's what I use it for, and it helps with the pain as well. But yeah, I can transfer, that's fine for me, so I can get on rides as well.
Brilliant. And Sam, it's Hayden, isn't it, that's he's got additional needs, hasn't he?
Yeah, Hayden was diagnosed with ADHD when he was 7.
Yeah.
And he was also diagnosed with dyspraxia,
Okay.
which also affects him physically as well. He's quite clumsy, so he'll fall over quite a lot, and he also struggles walking quite quickly, so he'll walk quite slow with a shuffle. And then when he was 10, he was also diagnosed with autism. So he's got high functioning autism, or what people used to call Asperger's.
Okay.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
If anybody in the comments, by the way, we've got loads of people commenting. If anybody's got any questions they want to ask during the chat, please feel free to chip in and we'll try and keep up with them.
Yeah.
So both of you, when we're going to start with Disneyland Paris first, we're going to talk about Disneyland Paris and Walt Disney World, because you've been to both of you have been to both places. Emma, when was your last visit? A few weeks ago?
Yeah, it was actually.
It wasn't long ago, was it?
No.
No, so you're very, very recent Disneyland Paris. Sam, when was your last trip?
We were in Disneyland Paris in February.
So you're very recent as well, then both of you very recent. And I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, there are 2 kinds of disability priority passes you can get for Disneyland Paris.
Yeah.
Would one of you like to describe the differences?
Sam, do you want to go?
The both, correct me if I'm wrong, Emma, the both priority access passes, but I think they colour code them. So there's essentially one for people to just enter the disabled queue straight away. And then I think the other one that we haven't had any experience of is one where you essentially go to the ride and get a time to return to that ride. So you wait the queue externally from the ride. Is that correct? Yeah.
So I've had it differently, actually. I don't know what colour code you have, but I have the blue colour code. And I go straight up to the disability access and go straight on. We don't have to get a queue time to come back. The time to come back is only to meet characters. Whereas I have heard and experienced with my friends who have, I think there's a green card, that they get to go through the single rider access. So for instance, with Phantom Manor, I have to go right up near the graveyard to go through the exit to get onto the ride. Whereas my friend, she goes up the stairs like you usually do, but through the fast pass access. So That's the difference that I know of anyway.
Yeah, I think the thing is, you're more specialised to the pass that you get. We have the one where we go to the ride access queue, but because Hayden isn't in a wheelchair, we can also use the single rider queues as well. So if there is a longer queue, say for the ride access, they will encourage us and say you're okay to do like the single rider or the lightning lane, fast pass lane as well. So yeah.
So for both of your passes, do you want to describe what the process was to arrange the pass? Did you arrange it whilst you were in Disneyland Paris? Can you arrange it before you go? What kind of documentation do you need to take with you? Is it a difficult? Sorry, I'm not asking loads of questions. Is it a difficult process?
I hope you made a note of all that.
So Emma, if you want to start and let us know what the process was for yourself.
Okay, so let me quickly say something previous. It used to be a green pass, so it's literally just a piece of paper, and then a tick, which is your disability, whether it's hidden or physical, and then that would be it. You would only have to show like an NHS letter, something like that. Whereas now, again, correct me if I'm wrong, Sam, but for me, when I've done it, is you go via the Disneyland Paris website, and then you go to the accessibility, and it's like you scroll down and you fill out this form, and they ask you different questions about, can you do this? How long would it take to transfer here and there? And then you have to either go to your hotel concierge or the city hall, and I have to show my blue badge to just as evidence. They don't seem to take NHS letters anymore, so I don't know why. And then they ask you the same questions again that you answered online, just to make sure that you don't sort of like make a slip up compared to what you said there and then. And you can apply 30 days in advance for the card as well.
You also need a passport photograph as well to upload when you do the application, because the new card now, it's actually like a little card, and it has your photo on, so it means that nobody else can use your card as well.
And then if you have an annual pass, they can make the card last for the whole year, whereas if you don't, then it lasts just for the amount of days that you have for your trip.
I'm glad you said that, because that was one of the questions I'd got, how long it lasted and whether it was, kind of a 3-year thing, because I know the rat passes, or what are they called in this country now, that you need
the ones for Alton Towers, the ride access pass,
so you can get those for 3 years, can't you?
Yes, they are.
The Nimbus that issue those. So I didn't know
they're a little bit more, from what I've looked into, because Hayden's last one's expired, so we're kind of on the new system now, and you actually need more like higher evidence in order to get those. So it's changed slightly. We're in the process of sorting that out for Hayden as well. So
to me, when you're describing it, it sounds quite complicated. Is it that complicated, or is it
No, I don't think it is.
No. If you go onto the Disneyland Paris website and type in priority access, it will come up with the relevant page that you need, and you just kind of read through it all, scroll down, and there's just a little thing there that says apply. It tells you who can apply and what evidence you need in order to apply. But at that point, you don't actually show any evidence. You show your evidence once you actually get to Disneyland Paris.
And you find the cast members are absolutely fine with everything, that the language barrier isn't a problem, they're quite understanding, I'm assuming.
We've never had an issue whatsoever. We use Hayden's blue badge, and I think the blue badge is quite a universal piece
it started actually, the blue badge actually came from when it was the European Union, so we managed to get it once we joined there. So
So
I'm not sure how it is if you're taking actual paper evidence like DLA letters and things, because we've not had to do that. So I'm not sure, but I'm presuming that they've seen it all before and know what they're looking at.
And is there a list of kind of things that you need on the Disneyland Paris website?
There's a full list of evidence that they'll provide, and it's just one piece of that evidence, so you don't have to take a blue badge and a DLA form or this or that. It's just that one one thing.
Yeah.
But I will say, if you do use a blue badge, if you are parking somewhere and using your blue badge, take a photograph of your blue badge and take that with you.
Okay, that's good. Good tip.
Because we parked in London
Yeah.
in a disabled spot, and obviously using our blue badge, and then we need it as evidence, so we've just took photographs, and they've been completely fine with the photographs of the blue badge.
That didn't work with me. I wasn't allowed to use photos,
Right.
so I completely forgot to take the blue badge, and I was like, oh, I just need to take blue badge, not pip, so I didn't show any of that either. And I got there and I was panicking, and basically I said, look, I'm in a wheelchair, I can try and stand and walk if you want to see me, but you'll be able to tell. And luckily they let me have it. But for me, they didn't accept any photos.
We have it was just that one time. Every other time we've travelled by plane or whatever, or we've not used the badge. But maybe that's something to take into consideration. If you are using your blue badge, maybe do take another form of proof just in case. But we didn't, on our particular occasion, we didn't have any issues.
And I think you've kind of covered this question, but one of the questions is like how it works with ride times and things like that. So you know, you've said, Emma, you don't need to get a return time. You can just go up to the exit. Is that right?
Yeah, that you need a return time for characters, but for rides you can just go on.
Yeah, and Sam, is yours the same? Do you need a
Ours
return
is the same, yeah. For the rides, you either go through the disabled access queue line. It's usually the exit of the ride. And for characters, you just get a return time, but it can be a bit like Hunger Games getting a return time for those characters. They don't have an unlimited amount of slots. They allocate so many slots per character for that day. So I would recommend you use your early magic time to get in and find the character you want to see and get that return time.
So
sorry.
Go on.
I was going to say also they get new slots for the afternoon released at 12 o'clock. So
yeah, that's brilliant. And you so basically get there as early as you can if you want to see a particular character.
The difficulty is as well trying to sometimes get your autistic child up at 7 o'clock in the morning to get them out so you can go and get that time to go and meet his favorite character, Stitch, is difficult. It's not necessarily the best system, and it doesn't always work for everybody, but that's essentially what you have to do.
Is it the same system then for indoor meet and greets? So like meeting Mickey or meeting the princesses, can you just go up to the exit and do that, or do you need to book a return time for those as well?
I've gone through the exit.
The kind of the characters that are in an attraction, but in a building, you use the same as you would a ride, but it's just the external dotted about characters that you have to get return time for.
Okay, just gonna have a pause a minute while we look at the comments.
So we've got some questions coming in. First one was from Love to Explore, asking about do Disney do quite a lot of sensory rooms and things like that?
Oh, this question. That's my question.
Don't worry, the other questions are going to sneak some of these.
I don't think they have a sensory room in Disneyland Paris.
They have one where the old arcade used to be, which is in Videopolis. So it's at the back entrance of Videopolis.
Oh, that's good to know.
I was actually in there yesterday by chance because it's where they've got the phone charging things. And actually popped in and went, oh, that's nice. It's got like a starry sky and
that's good to know because I didn't know that was there.
Well, I didn't know it was there. It's the first time I'd seen it.
Because I have autism myself, so sometimes it is sensory overload for me at Paris. So I have to go in there and just.
Is the one in the studios at all, Emma, or is it just the one in Disneyland Park?
I've not seen one in the studios.
No, I haven't seen one in the studios either. And I'm not sure about Walt Disney World.
I can help you out with that one. I have got information on that one. We'll come back to that one.
Okay.
So probably going to nick another one of your questions and probably off the next slide. But Coaster Chicken says, are there any Disney rides that are not disability friendly?
They are stealing my questions.
Can I go first, Sam, if that's okay?
Yeah.
Okay, so there are some rides that are not disability friendly for people with physical disabilities. So I can no longer go on Peter Pan's flight. So if there was an evacuation, I wouldn't be able to go down the ladders, so I'm not allowed to go on it. It's some of them I can go on, but it's a risk. So for instance, Pirates of the Caribbean, when they go up the slope, they've got the stairs that can come down, obviously with the water stop running, but they haven't got I forgot what they're called now, a thing you hold on to go down the stairs.
Like a handrail.
That's it. Yeah. They don't have that, so that would be very, very difficult for me to do, but it's something I take a risk with. So
Yeah.
It would be, we got evacuated off Pirates last time we were there, and yeah, it's not easy to get out of the boat, and then you have to kind of use, depending where you are, you've got stuck on stairs, and then it's backstage, and it's quite a long walk to get back.
I experienced that Spaceship Earth, and it was terrible.
Spaceship Earth all up there. Yeah.
So the other question that we've got at the moment from Love to Explore is, are there reserved areas for watching parades?
Another one of my questions. Love to Explore.
Yes. Yes, they are. The one for the Dream Shine Brighter Parade is just at the bottom of Main Street. And there's also one for the fireworks. Yeah. But we don't use it because for rides, Hayden can take himself and up to, I think, 3 or 4 people with him, so we can all go on a ride as a family. Yeah. But in the observation areas, it's him and one guest, so we cannot watch the parade in those areas as a family. Yeah. So we have to risk it for a biscuit with everybody else. So yeah, that's one thing that isn't really helpful to us as a family. In order for Hayden to have a more peaceful space, we have to split as a family, and we choose to not do, and we stay as a family and just find a spot and kind of huddle around him.
But
there are areas for you to watch parades and fireworks.
So I'm just going to go back to the accessibility bit on the rides. And
by the way, you've got Stacey from Love to Explore apologising for nicking the questions.
That's all right, Stacey. Which is about ride accessibility, particularly for people like Emma with mobility issues. So these videos, the top one is Pirates of the Caribbean, Emma?
Yeah. Do you want me to quickly say something?
Yes.
Or
okay,
so again, this is through the exit of the ride by the shop, and where that woman is, you basically have to show your priority card, and then she tells you where you have to place your chair. Sometimes on rides they make you get out of your chair first of all before you go on to the ride, but Pirates, they let you wheel yourself up right to the boat and then you can get on. And then what happens is they leave a little token associated with the number, so you can see obviously 5 and 6 there, so it's 1 to 6, and they leave a little token as if what part you went on to from. Does that make sense? And then that will go on your wheelchair, and then so you know which wheelchair to get back, because some people have in the past tried to steal people wheelchairs.
I just got people just, there are no words. The bottom video, Emma, that's Phantom Manor.
Yeah, that's correct, Phantom Manor. So basically, I don't know if you're going to show the whole clip. So again, it goes through the exit, and you go to where people get off the doom buggies, and they have a travelator, I think that's what it's called, and so you know what I mean. And you can either get it slowed down or you can have it stopped. Sometimes you try and say to stop it, but they don't listen and they just slow it down. But then when there's been incidences where I've nearly fallen, they soon learn their lesson. So
so that's what's happening when me as a guest is in the doom buggies and you get the playful spooks have interrupted.
And just to let you know, people give you the most dirtiest, I don't know if you've noticed this, Sam, but people give you the most dirtiest looks when you're going through the exit.
I do. I also feel like as well the exits, it can get chaotic.
Yes.
You are trying to go into a space that everybody else is coming out of.
Yeah.
And obviously people are looking at you because you're the one that's going the wrong way. Because they don't necessarily understand, especially like Hayden's not in a wheelchair. So looking at him, he looks normal.
Yeah.
But yeah, you do get the dirty looks like, what are you doing? Why are you coming this way? Do you not know
Yeah.
where the queue is? So yeah, but it can get quite chaotic having to use the exits as your entrance. So that's something to bear in mind as well. It's not always smooth sailing using a disabled entrance.
Yeah.
For Casey Jr., it's a nightmare, especially for wheelchair users. Like if you needed someone to come off the ride in a wheelchair as well as go in, that wouldn't happen.
No, there's no space. You can tell some of the rides that were obviously built before making things accessible. And I don't think with Casey Jr. you could really do it any other way. There's nowhere else to put a queue line. So but it's something to bear in mind when you do go, that even though it's got a disabled badge on it and that's the queue that you use, it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be nice and wide and open and not chaotic. So it is worth bearing in mind. It gets you on the ride easier, but there's still problems that can occur along the way.
Just as an aside to that, does the person with the pass have to ride?
Yes.
Is there any kind of rider switch option? So say Sam, you and Estella wanted to go on a ride, but Hayden didn't want to go on that ride. Would you have to go into the main queue?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
That's fine.
So we've got a question from Kate from Theme Park Eye, and she's asking about food. And Kate's basically asking, can you take food and drink onto the park, which you know you can, but effectively she was giving the example of if a person has set foods that they will only eat and only a drink, one type of drink that he drinks, etc., in one cup. So can you take your own food in that will be acceptable to that person?
I believe so. I mean, I've got allergies and I've never had any issues with it. The only issue I do have is because I don't know how Kate travels, but I go on a Eurostar and you're not allowed to take dairy with you. Certain things you're not allowed to take with you. So you just have to check that prior. But
yeah, it's the same with it depends how you travel. So you've got your travel restrictions, but we've never had any issues taking any type of food or drink that is allowed on the Eurostar or the plane into the parks with us. I think if you kind of took enough food and sat down in the middle and had like a big 3-course meal, they'd have something to say about it. But I think general, like day food for like a lunch or whatever, then you can take that in with you.
Emma, I'm just going to talk specifically to you for a minute. We've already said about some attractions that are not suitable for people with disabilities. But are there other things that people don't consider? Like the last time I went with we had a little tour around Adventure Isle. And there are lots of steps and bridges and things. And I think I put it in the vlog that I don't know how accessible the Adventure Isle is for people in wheelchairs.
Okay, so you can go over the bridge, which is from the Indiana Jones side to the Pirates of the Caribbean side. And you can go through Skull Rock, but again, obviously it's like a maze, so you have to just guess, and then if you see a step, that's okay, you've got to go back again. That's the way I've experienced it.
So there isn't a specific disabled signed route as far as you're aware.
No.
Swiss Family Treehouse?
Can't go on.
That's it's just see, you don't even think, me as an able-bodied person doesn't even think of anything like that.
You can go on you can experience part of it when you're in Walt Disney World, but in Paris you can't do any of it.
Is it that the legislation for disability access is getting into worldwide politics now? Is it the legislation in disability access in Europe is less than America? Would you say America has to be more open to disability access?
I don't know how to answer that.
I don't know.
Yeah, have you found it
I
better?
don't know about the legislation. I know from like our experience, I think Walt Disney World is more accessible than Disneyland Paris.
Yeah.
From, you know, our experience and what we've seen, I would say Walt Disney World is far more accessible
Yes.
than Paris. I think Paris has a lot of catching up to do.
Is it easy to find out which rides or attractions you can do where you need to transfer and things like that? And we've got the video at the top, Emma. I think this is from yours. You're explaining about the signage on the post.
Okay, so basically there's a map that you can get for accessibilities because it doesn't always show you on the app.
Yeah.
So that's a good thing. But when you get to the ride as well, on the sign, for instance, I don't know if you can see it clearly there, but it basically says must transfer or wheelchair accessible. So for instance, Slinky Dog, I believe it's Slinky Dog anyway. And there's another one that I've completely forgotten now, sorry. There are ones that the wheelchair can go into. Oh, that's it, Chez Remy, the Ratatouille ride. The wheelchair can actually go onto the mouse and get strapped in, and then you go. And that's the same with It's a Small World. They have a specific boat as well.
Yeah, that's good.
Excellent.
Yeah. Sam, have you stayed in a hotel at Disneyland Paris?
Yes, we've stayed at Cheyenne.
Yeah.
Me and John have stayed at Santa Fe. I've stayed at Newport Bay and Sequoia Lodge.
Yeah. And Emma, I know you've stayed at Disneyland Paris. So how do you both find the accommodations at Disneyland Paris? How accessible are they for you, Emma? How easy for Hayden are they? Do they overstimulate anywhere, or do you find everything okay?
Sam, do you want to go first?
Yeah, from Hayden's point of view, he's never found any of the hotels like overstimulating or overwhelming.
Yeah.
But we have noticed that from a accessibility point of view, for when you're coming in from the parks through Village to Sequoia Lodge or Newport Bay, in order to get to the reception level, you have to go upstairs, and there is one lift. There is one lift that will fit one wheelchair or one pushchair.
Yeah, it's very small.
So, like if Estella was asleep in the pram, obviously you want to keep your child asleep as long as possible. You want to get the lift up. Yeah. And obviously there's people waiting for the lift, people in wheelchairs who need the lift.
Yeah.
And then you kind of like, well, do we wait because they're not exactly quick, or do we just carry the pushchair up the stairs? And then obviously if Hayden's tired as well, like when he is tired, he needs to go to bed, and he needs to go to bed now.
Yeah.
So there's no, waiting. He can't just wait. So we have to kind of like either wake Estella up so we can carry her up the stairs and things like that. Yeah. The first time we went to Disneyland Paris, we stopped at Cheyenne, and my mum was with us, and she suffered with arthritis and things like that, and they provided us with a shower seat in the bathroom for her. Okay. She didn't end up using it because she found that she could manage, but it was there, and they were really, really helpful in providing those things for us when we were there. And Hayden doesn't need anything like that within the hotel. So for us, we found the hotels okay, but from an accessible point of view, Cheyenne and Santa Fe have lifts up to the next floor in the block, so there are lifts in there as well.
Okay, Emma, how about yourself? How do you find
I find them all, well, I say all fine. I found it okay, except for I had an issue with Sequoia Lodge. So I booked an accessible room because I stayed at Hotel New York for a couple of nights, and I was going to go to Sequoia Lodge, and went into the room and it wasn't accessible. So we had to make a complaint. They said it was my fault. I was like, I've got the email here saying it's accessible room needed. And then they finally put us in an accessible room, which was quite up high with the small lift that Sam was talking about. And you go in, it's fine, you go in, and then there was dirty towels everywhere, and the wheelchair hardly fitted in, but the bathroom at least was accessible, so I could go to the bathroom. But then trying to get back out of the room, there's a little step. So the wheelchair didn't work. So if I was by myself, that would not happen. I have known as well that I do know that at the moment the wheelchair rooms are 2 rooms connected.
Okay.
So say for instance, I had a carer with me instead of just my boyfriend. They could sleep in one room and I could sleep in the other room.
Yeah.
But that's all changing. So in future bookings, I think it's from June, if I remember correctly, the wheelchair rooms will just be the one room.
Right. That's a shame.
So, and it's usually just the one bed there, not a double bed and some
Bunk
bunk
beds.
beds. Yeah.
That's a shame.
Yeah.
That seems a bit of a backward step.
Yeah, is since they've, because Hotel New York's the newest renovated one, have they made that more accessible?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
I have noticed though, one thing that I struggle with is that I'm used to having 2 rails to hold on in the toilet and in the shower, whereas in the toilet section there's only 1 rail, and then in the shower section there's 1 to sit down on a chair and then 1 which is right over the other side, and the gap between the showers, you might have seen Sam with your mum, I'm not too sure, it's quite a big gap.
Quite big,
So again, that's quite difficult, but luckily my wheelchair does fit into the shower part, so I can literally transfer there and then. And also Hotel New York, you can play your music in the shower because it's Bluetooth speaker.
Amazing.
And I'm assuming that's for every room, Emma, not just a room.
No, that is for every room.
Everyone's going to be booking up the accessible room.
Stacey from Love to Explore is asking if the shops sell e-defenders for those people with sound sensory complications while they're watching fireworks, etc.
No, I haven't seen any.
Take
they sell earbuds, but that's it.
Yeah.
So bring your own then is the advice on that one.
And also, sorry.
Go on, Emma.
I was going to say also the special glasses for people with epilepsy as well. Bring them.
Yeah.
Bring them with you.
We just got our ear defenders on Amazon.
Yeah.
The kids' ear defenders.
How do you both find, because it must be for both of you in different ways, how do you both find being in a crowd at Disneyland Paris? I mean, it can be, we all know it can be incredibly busy. It can be intimidating for anybody, but Emma, you're not at eye level with people. Hayden must find it challenging at times for other reasons. Do you find it intimidating? Is it enough to put you off, or do you just brush it aside and say, we'll deal with it and we'll find quiet places, or how do you deal with it?
Sam, do you want to go first?
Yeah, I think for us, when we first went, obviously I have anxiety myself as well, so I suffer really badly with anxiety. My mum had her physical disabilities and Hayden also had his disabilities. And it was really overwhelming that first trip. We went at Christmas. It was the week before Christmas. It was really, really busy. Everybody wanted to see the parade and the light switch on and every show. It was heaving.
Yeah.
It was stressful, but it was also magical.
Yeah.
And I think I would have liked to have other places to go to find information about disabilities. Yeah. Because I found it really, really difficult to find information on people traveling with autism and people traveling with anxiety and what it's actually like when you're there. The more trips we do, the more we get to find our hacks, our places to go, our things to do. We don't eat at normal meal times because it's busy at lunch and tea. So we eat like at different times of the day. We try and let the kids lead the way as well. But yeah, it can get stressful. It can get overwhelming. And even I have to say to John, I need 5 minutes. And I just go off for 5 minutes, you know, just have a cry, let it all out, and then come back. And
I suppose it's also important to set expectations. It's important to set expectations for everybody that it's not going to be a perfect holiday. Things go wrong, things happen. And it's about dealing with that, isn't it, really? That it's not going to be Instagram perfect.
No,
So-
and I think that's the thing, isn't it? When you're looking at these Disney holidays, you're looking through everyone's Instagram and everyone's YouTube, and it looks like the most amazing holiday in the world, and it is the most amazing holiday in the world. But you have to realise, just because you're in Disney doesn't mean to say your children's behaviour is going to change.
Yeah.
Children don't become magical as well.
No.
They are the exact same people as they are at home, and it's like Emma's disability doesn't change just because she's in Disney. You know what I mean? She has the same disability in Disney as she does at home, and it's kind of about thinking, well, what would we do at home? How can we replicate that while we're away? And that goes for any holiday that we book. Their expectations. You know, your kids are not going to be angels because they're in Disney.
No. And Emma, about yourself, I know we had an awful experience. Emma and I met up in Disneyland Paris a few weeks ago, and we walked to the fireworks together, didn't we, with a very long and had an awful experience with very, very, very rude people. And I would like to say they weren't all British, but some of them were. Some of them were American. They were all different nationalities, and they were all equally obnoxiously rude. They don't know people in wheelchairs. They were pushing and shoving and stepping over you. It was absolutely disgusting. And Emma just told me off screen as well that she nearly came into a punch up with a couple of people as well, because of a wheelchair, and it's not acceptable.
No. I've had people climb over Estella's pushchair.
Yeah, it is
in
not
Disney.
acceptable.
Terrible.
It's absolutely disgusting. So, Emma, do you want to expand on any of that?
So when I first went, I was like in the wheelchair. Obviously, I was petrified. But now I've got more confidence, and I'm just like, I'm not having any of this. So I didn't do it when I was with you and Courtney, because I wanted to come across as nice. But when thank you. But when I go with Rob, I'm just like, I've had enough of this, and I just stick my leg out, the one that I can, or I stick my arms out, because if people are going to end up going over me, it's their own fault, basically, because we say, excuse me, excusez-moi, all this as much as we can. We're trying to be polite. And for instance, the thing that I was telling you about, the nearly had punch up, we're walking through the Disney village, and there was this couple, and they're walking straight, and all of a sudden you could see the girlfriend deciding to walk diagonally while we're still going straight, because the crowd is meant to go straight at this one part. And basically she knocked the wheelchair, even though we kept saying excuse-moi, and then the boyfriend just was like, how dare you, what do you think you're doing, can't you see, are you blind? And then me and Courtney were like, well, and then the rest is history. But as you were saying, like when we were together, the crowd, there was about 450 people in that crowd coming from the event, and the security guards, which were just three I think, and they were trying to stop the people coming forward, and because they wanted us to be front, and like at beginning they were okay, and slowly the people started getting more and more aggressive. And then I don't know if you remember, but we were going past World of Disney, and someone rammed into Courtney, which means my wheelchair got stuck in the train airwaves. And then it literally, people just rammed past the three of us. I don't know if you got pushed as well, but it was dreadful. And then when we went to the fireworks display, literally people were just there, just standing in front of me. I couldn't see anything. And then I think there were some French people there, and they're just basically, am I allowed to say bitching? They're basically saying bitching stuff about us, and it was blatantly obvious. I do get very anxious being in crowds anyway, even if I didn't have my disability, but I tried to show that I'm not. But I would never go in Christmas. I went in Christmas last year, and I'd never go again. Hated it.
It's I think the thing is, Disney it's busy. It's really, really busy. Parades are busy, fireworks are busy, Christmas is busy, Halloween's busy. We never ever leave the park straight after fireworks, ever. If we plan to watch fireworks, we never leave after fireworks, and we've always stopped on Disney property, so that when the crowds have dispersed, we know that our hotel is just there. So we haven't braved it and stopped off site yet, just because with the kids it's just far more convenient to be on site. And I think, like, even though, like, obviously Hayden doesn't look like he's got a disability, but people can be rude to anybody and everyone. And I think it's just one of those things that you kind of have to realise, again, just because you're in Disney doesn't mean to say that everybody's going to be all sweetness and, like, you know what I mean?
So is there anything that either of you would want to say to people? Just as a general thing, is there anything that you would want to, not anybody that's being nasty or any, you know, just particular, just to say, hello, we're here. Is there any kind of awareness that you'd like them to have? Or I
think it's not generally just, like, for us, just awareness for disabilities. It's just awareness of other people. You know, you have not paid to hire Disney out for yourself for the day. You know, you have paid the exact same price as the person stood next to you to have that experience in Disney. And I think for me, it's, you need to treat people how you would want to be treated, just in general. Do you know what I mean? Just because someone is in a wheelchair, or someone is a child in a pushchair, or someone is only 5 foot tall and you're 6 foot tall, that does not give you the right to lean over them and intimidate them and, you know, try and make them move. At the end of the day, everybody's there to have a magical time. And I think for us, it's just be aware of other people and just treat other people how you would want to be treated. And if you can't be kind and thoughtful, don't bother going.
So Kate from Theme Park Eye is asking then, with everything that we're talking about, when would you suggest is a good time to go?
I'd say the best time that we've gone, where it's been the quietest, has been in February. We've just been in February for 2 days with the kids, and me and John went last February for his birthday. The weather's not great, and I think there's always, like, some rides that are down because they use the beginning part of the season to do anything that needs doing, but it is so chill. And it is such a pleasant experience. If you dress for the weather, then I'd definitely say, you know, February was a really, really good time for us. Do bear in mind that the park does close earlier, so it closes at around 7. So you kind of have to fit more into a smaller amount of time, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. It means that you can then spend your evenings in village or at the hotel and enjoying those things without feeling like you're missing out on something else. We have a trip booked in a couple of weeks for Hayden's birthday, and it'll be the first time that we've gone in May, and the first time that we're going with the parks being open till 11. So that'll be a new experience for us. Like, how are we going to deal with being in Paris and having to stay up till 11 o'clock with the kids to watch fireworks? So February is a good time.
Have we got any more comments while we have a
what about for yourself, Emma?
I agree with February. I found the best time though was late March. I felt that it wasn't too busy, more the rides were back up and running, and it wasn't too hot and wasn't too cold. So that's what I would say personally. And just a little thing to Sam, if you're staying on site again, like I said before, the slots for the characters actually come out at midday as well as extra magic hours. So bear that in mind. You don't have to necessarily wake up as early.
We got any other questions in the comments there?
We've gone through the questions, but Love to Explore has thrown this oddity in. So Mike feels like that I should be wearing ears. So you know, I'm the odd one out at the moment. Mike, if you can find me a pair of boxing glove ears or something like that, I might just wear them.
Anyway, moving to Walt Disney World now. We've done Disneyland Paris. So Emma, when was your last visit to Florida?
September/October last year.
Yeah, and Sam?
We went October, November last year.
So very similar times then. Emma, you stayed at All-Star
Movies.
All-Star Movies. And Sam, you were Art of Animation?
Yeah, we stayed at Art of Animation and then Caribbean Beach.
Brilliant. So Emma, how did you find the accessibility? If you just press play on that
Yeah.
one for me, how did you find the accessibility at All Stars? Obviously, we can see things are at a good height for you there.
I'd say 9.5 out of 10.
That's not cool.
The bathroom only had one rail, but
Yeah.
then there was a step to get into the shower. So
Yeah.
only small, you'll see it probably on here, but it's only a
Yeah.
little bump, but my wheelchair wouldn't go over it, so I had to get Rob to help me get over it.
Yeah.
But the room was very roomy, even with the pull down bed that you can have.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's still loads of room. The whole resort was so accessible as well. No
Yeah.
steps to get in anywhere. Yeah, really good.
Good. And Sam, both the resorts you've mentioned, we know both of them well. Both again very bright, very bold. No problems for Hayden with the anything on there.
No, not at all. He preferred Caribbean Beach to Art of Animation, but that was nothing to do with it being bright and bold and loud Art of Animation, but he just preferred Caribbean Beach. One thing I would say though, at Caribbean Beach there's no lifts, so you need to request a ground floor room. And I think it's the same at Art of Animation. Is there any lifts? Because we were downstairs at Art of Animation, so we never had to use a lift.
I think there is. But
I think they're at each end of the block.
Yeah.
So yeah, again, I'd probably request a downstairs room at Art of Animation. But yeah, we found that the rooms at Caribbean Beach were slightly bigger.
Yeah.
So there was more floor space in the normal rooms because we didn't have adapted rooms.
Yeah.
So there was definitely more space in Caribbean Beach, and the bathroom was slightly, like the sink area at Caribbean Beach was slightly bigger as well. So, but yeah, good.
Good. So I understand the DAS pass at Walt Disney World. I do get that one. Emma, do you mind me asking if you qualify for the DAS pass? Because obviously, if for people that don't know, the Disability Access Pass at Walt Disney World is not the same as the one in Paris. So you're only technically allowed the Disability Access Pass if you can't stand in the queue. So if you have a wheelchair and you can sit in the queue, you don't qualify for the pass. It has to be a reason why you can't wait in a queue for a prolonged period. So do you that, Emma?
At first I was told on the phone when I was booking I wasn't required to do one. But I have bladder issues as well as part of the EDS umbrella. And there was an issue where I did need to go to the bathroom midway through the queuing. So a cast member found out and then took me aside once I'd been to the bathroom and filled it out for me. So
yeah. And Sam, obviously Hayden qualifies for the DAS pass. Would one of you or both of you like to explain the process, what's involved?
I'm not sure how you did it, Emma, but we actually applied before we went via the website. But here in the UK, you have to use a VPN to put your computer in America. And you can apply for it 30 days prior to your trip, but that's 30 days from your last day. So when you apply for it, it essentially lasts 30 days. So if you're going for 2 weeks, we applied for ours like 2 weeks before we went. So it would expire on our last day. And essentially, again, you just go onto the website. If you just type in DAS Pass, it will come up with everything that you need to know, and you request a phone call. We waited about 40 minutes for the video call, but you can end up waiting longer. You essentially go into a queue and you speak to a cast member and you give them your booking number and everything, and they just talk you through it. They ask you why you need the pass. They do not ask you what is wrong with you. In America, they cannot ask you what is wrong with you. They just ask you why you need the pass. So this is why I can get the DAS pass in America, but not in Paris, because I don't claim any benefits or anything for my depression or anxiety. I don't have any proof. Whereas in Florida, I'm able to use DAS pass, and it was amazing because it meant that I could go and do rides with Estella and John could go and do rides with Hayden. It just made the trip so much easier. But yeah, you do the phone call with them, you tell them who's applying for it, why you need it, and then if you like, you can pre-book some of your DAS times on the rides before you get there. We did it. We didn't use any of them because they just weren't at convenient times. So I'd probably say it's probably not worth doing it. Just book your DAS return times while you're there. Alternatively, if you don't want to do it before you go, you can just do it at City Hall when you get there.
Yeah, but you can book 2 rides a day, can't you? And if you do it online in advance.
Yeah, you can pre-book 2 rides a day. They do have an hour's return time. But that doesn't affect any of the DAS passes that you book while you're there. But yeah, you can do that. But we didn't really use them. We found that they just didn't sit with what we were doing, but it doesn't matter, they just drop off.
And it's all done on the app, isn't it?
It's all done through MDE.
Emma, did you find it easy? Did you do it 30 days in advance, or did you do it actually?
No, I did it in the park because, as I was saying, I was stuck in a ride and stuff. So basically the lady thought I was using it as an excuse, so I had to log on to my hospital app and show them one of my clinical letters, and then like, okay, that's suitable. So yeah.
And did you find it easy to use?
I found it helpful. Like you're saying, it's a 2-slot thing. I used that along Genie Plus. I know quite a lot of people saying don't use Genie Plus, but I actually found that really helpful. So
And
we found that. Sorry, go on.
No, go on, Sam. I was just going to say I just wanted to point out to people that this is not a cutting the queue privilege.
No.
You go on the app and you get given a return time that is the same length of time as the queue. You are effectively queuing, just not in the line. So it means that you can go and sit somewhere quietly, or something like that, rather than actually standing physically in the line. But you are not cutting the queue.
The actual time that you wait is maybe like 20 minutes short of the queue time, because obviously when you get in there you still have to queue a little bit. It's not go in and walk on, so you still have to bear in mind that you still do have to do some of the like lining lane,
because you go through the fast pass, not the fast pass, the lightning lane. Don't you? So,
and you can also use it with rider swap as well.
Yes, that's good.
And wheelchair users can actually, like, even if you don't have a DAS pass, use the normal lines, so you get to experience the whole of Haunted Mansion compared to Paris, where you only experience it at the back.
I think that's the difference with the one in Florida. You can't apply for DAS just because you're in a wheelchair, or even if you say to them, I cannot stand for long periods of time, they will say to you, you can hire a wheelchair. And then you can go in the queue, because every single queue is totally accessible. Wheelchairs and ECVs can all get through the queues. So this pass is for people who cannot tolerate extended waits, not for people who cannot stand in a queue. And that's the kind of main difference, I think, between DAS pass and priority access.
I know, because we got a DAS pass for my dad when my dad came, and he's almost 80 and he has prostate problems, and he needs to go to the toilet every half hour. So he got one because of that, because he can't stand in a queue for more than half an hour. But
we found in Walt Disney World it was amazing, and it was so nice that I could go and do things with Estella in Disneyland Paris if, for example, there's a ride that Estella can't or doesn't want to go on. Hayden will go on with his dad or me, and then the other ones are kind of left waiting or looking for something with a really, really short queue. And it means that she sometimes misses out. And because of my anxiety, I physically cannot go and stand in a queue with a 4-year-old for an hour.
Yeah.
It's just so overwhelming for me. Whereas in Walt Disney World, John went on Guardians of the Galaxy with Hayden, and me and Estella went on Finding Nemo.
Yeah.
You know, it was just such a really nice, pleasant experience for us all that we didn't feel like anybody was missing out.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah.
I'd say overall for us, Walt Disney World works better for us.
And just on the DAS pass as well, for rides with virtual queues like Guardians of the Galaxy or Tron, you can't use the disability access pass on them. You still have to get a virtual queue. You still have to be in the virtual queue. But when you've got the virtual queue time and your return time, you just go up to the entrance and say,
and show them that you've got a DAS. Yeah.
And they'll send you up the individual lane entrance instead. But you have to have the virtual queue.
Yes. Yeah, you still have to have the virtual queue, and everybody has to have the virtual queue as well. And for DAS with rider swap, so trying to think of a ride that me and John and Hayden would go on that I still can't. Seven Dwarfs Mine Train, for example. So we'd book our DAS pass for Seven Dwarfs, and we'd just go up to the cast member. They're usually the ones under the umbrella, and we say, we've got a DAS pass for Seven Dwarfs Mine Train, but please can we get a rider swap as well? And essentially what they would do is they'd just scan the relevant magic bands. Hayden and John would go and ride first, and then they would come off, and then Hayden would get to ride again with me, so he'd get to experience the ride with me, and then we'd go, and it would be treated then as a rider swap rather than a DAS. So and then we get to ride. I'd get to ride it with Hayden.
Yeah, that's good. The disability parade and fireworks viewing. Now, I went with a Wish Foundation group of children in 2018, and the disability parade viewing and fireworks viewing were not amazing. Have they changed at Walt Disney
No
World?
idea. We didn't use it.
I didn't even know it existed.
No.
I don't think they're in very good positions. Emma, I know the one at Disneyland Paris you said is right at the front of the castle, isn't it?
Yeah, for the fireworks,
an amazing view. If anybody knows Walt Disney World, it's the green grass, the hub. The disability area is in the middle of the hub. So unfortunately, you've still got a lot of people in front of you, blocking everybody in wheelchairs' view. So unless it's changed, and please let me know in the comments if it has changed.
Just to let you know. Sorry, just to let you know, someone mentioned earlier in the chat, because I can see it as well, about watching the Avengers show in Walt Disney Studios Park. If you're using a wheelchair or mobility aid where you do sit down, go to the back, because it doesn't matter if there's people in front of you, because it's literally the showing projections and the lights are literally high up. So you don't need to be close.
Great.
Excellent. And obviously we were talking about Disneyland Paris, and we're now talking about WDW. That brings us to a nice question from Kate from Theme Park Eye. And she's saying, is America better than Paris for people's attitudes to disability?
I think backwards in America. I think they're forwards in many ways, but I also think they're quite backwards, particularly in the language that they use. So they will still use handicap a lot, won't they?
Yeah.
But I don't know. You guys answer.
We didn't find any difference. Hayden wears his sunflower lanyard while we're in Disneyland Paris. But he doesn't wear it at all in Walt Disney World, because it's just they just don't recognise the sunflower lanyard in Walt Disney World, so there was no point in wearing it. And the main difference we had was, by using the DAS system, nobody knew he had a disability. He could use the rides, and for all they knew, he had Lightning Lane booked. Or we were just doing a rider swap. And it meant that he wasn't parading round with a pass saying, I'm disabled. It meant that we could have a normal experience in the theme parks. And I think for him, that was a really, really big thing for him, that he was able to be normal while he was there. Whereas in Paris, obviously, he's got to show that he's got to walk around with it round his neck.
Yeah.
on his lanyard, and then he's got to show it to the cast member, and then the cast member scrutinizing it to make sure that it's him and it's okay, and it feels a bit more of a thing
Yeah.
at Paris, whereas in Walt Disney World it's all done on the app and you just go and scan your magic band,
Yeah.
and that's it.
Yeah.
So
How do you think the attitudes were? Do you feel there's much difference?
I agree with Sam about the whole feeling a bit more not showing disability, like here it is. It's just but I noticed the cast members seem more caring in Paris than they do in America when it comes to transferring and the time waits and stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
Excellent stuff. Thank you.
Just to point out as well, for anybody who's got small children and they use their stroller as a wheelchair, if in Florida, I don't know if this applies in Disneyland Paris or not, but definitely in Florida, you can take your stroller into City Hall and get it tagged, and then the cast members will recognise that as a wheelchair.
Yeah.
So you can go into all the attractions and everything like that with a stroller, and they'll accept it as a wheelchair. You will get some rude comments from some people, like, why can they bring their stroller in here and I've been told side.
Yeah.
But if you need to do that, you can do that. Just have it identified as a wheelchair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that's the case everywhere. I think a lot of people are, well, why do they get to do it and I don't? You know what I mean? Why do they get to do it and I don't? And I think that's just something that you just kind of, you have to have a bit of a, backbone with, and just it's going to happen. You're always going to get that one person that goes, well, why do they get special treatment and I don't? You know what I mean? At the end of the day, I would prefer not to have anxiety and depression. I would prefer my son to have a totally normal life. You know what I mean? These are not things that we ask for, and Emma didn't ask to be in a wheelchair.
Absolutely spot on. Yeah.
Can I say one more thing? Sorry. It was back to earlier, not necessarily just like what you asked a question based around what would you like other people to think about disabilities? What would you say to them? This isn't necessarily Disney as such, but in general, always be grateful for what you have, because you never know when something might change. And also, like Sam was saying, and you guys as well, always be aware of everyone, because there's been times where I've gone out to a restaurant or a coffee shop and people are talking to my partner or my family about me instead of asking me directly. So always be around, like, basically.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So just moving on to transport, Emma, we've got a video of you. This is Disneyland Paris on their buses, because obviously they've only got the buses in between the hotels and the train station and the village. The Walt Disney World buses are quite similar, I think, aren't they? So
they are. So the buses in Paris, they lower down like Walt Disney World, but in Walt Disney World they have a really big alarm. So they don't warn you about that, and when you have epilepsy, it can be quite worrying, because I didn't expect it. Lucky I carry my headphones with me. But it's exactly the same. There is no queuing as such. I don't know if Sam, you've had to experience the buses at Paris, but there's no
queuing. Never do the buses again.
There's no queuing at Paris for the buses. There's only queuing in Walt Disney World that I've experienced. There's a specific line, and they always let the wheelchairs on first before even buggies and push chairs. They always let you on first, and there's usually 2 set areas for wheelchairs. So and they strap you in and everything.
I think they're great. They're great, but the transportation in Disney World is amazing. Can you use all kinds of transport, Emma? Can you use the cable cars, the Skyliner, the boats, the monorails?
Everything. But that I've experienced is with Skyline, they don't have the separate disability queue, if I remember. But they do for monorail and they do for the buses as well.
So that's brilliant that you can use all the Disney transport, because do you know what? There's nothing nicer than going on a little boat trip.
Yeah, it's great.
Or getting the Skyliner and going on a bit of a resort hop. So
I haven't done the boats, so I don't know about that yet.
Right. Okay. I think some of them are accessible.
Yeah.
Certainly the ferry boat across.
I think with the Skyliner, I think you join the normal queue and then you kind of fork off.
Yeah.
Because for the Skyliner, it's a stationary gondola, isn't it, that
Yeah.
you wheel onto. So I think you queue with everybody else, and
Yeah.
then you kind of branch off into that particular little bit of a line to get on the Skyliner.
Because each cable car on the Skyliner is yellow for people with disabilities, physical disabilities.
Okay. Yeah. And then the last slide, James, please. So this is resources that are online. I'm assuming Disneyland Paris will have something similar. So the one on the left is a generic Disney guide, Magic Kingdom guide. They do them for all the parks for guests with all kinds of disabilities, so physical, cognitive, hearing, visual, and it gives you a rough kind of guide, and I put the link to where you can find that below. The one on the right hand side is, what's it called, Jay? I haven't got my glasses on. Is it a cognitive guide?
It's a resource for guests with cognitive disabilities, including autism spectrum disorder.
So did you know about that, Sam, before you actually went to Disney World? Did you know that guide was available?
Yeah, when we applied online before we went, we were told about all the different guides and things that were available to us to have a look through. So yeah, we were aware of that. I don't know if when you apply for it, when you're there, whether they give you a leaflet or, you know, that I don't know if Emma got any leaflets when she applied for hers, but we got told about it when we did it online beforehand.
Yeah.
When you literally enter each park, there's always a section of maps, and they're just there as well.
Yeah. And also going back to the break areas where you can go and, you know, if you suffer with autism or just need a sensory cool down or whatever. So certainly in each of the Walt Disney World parks, there's a first aid station. And behind the first aid station is a room, a specifically sensory room. So in every first aid station, there is a sensory room. So you can certainly go and use them. And that is definitely worth knowing, I think. I don't think a lot of people are aware of that.
I didn't know.
Room. It's a lovely. I've been in the one in the Magic Kingdom. It's a lovely room.
No, I wasn't aware of it, but at the same time, we didn't need it.
No.
While we're in Walt Disney World, we actually just found lots of places where there was just space. To go and sit. We just found some. Oh, there's a space there. We'll just go and chill down there for a little bit and let the kids run around and stuff. So we didn't actually need it, but it is good to know that it is there.
Very last point, Emma, about dietary requirements, because I know you have allergies and things.
Yeah.
So
I have everything.
So comparing Walt Disney World and Disneyland, then obviously both can cater for dietary requirements. Would you say that one was better than the other?
Walt Disney World is easily better.
Yeah.
Easily. Yeah. No doubt about that. When you go to Paris, they come out with a little folder, and obviously it's in French, so you have to kind of trust what they're saying. And there's been instances where it's not always gone to plan. But they always come out with gluten-free and dairy-free bread. So that, and it's a whole packet as well. It's not just like a little bit. Whereas in Walt Disney World, they have specific counters you can go up to as well. And it's like the allergy consultation area. And the main head chef comes out to speak to everyone individually about all their needs. And they explain what they have in the things. If they want to adapt anything, they make it fresh for you. And they give you little buzzers so it doesn't get mixed up with everyone else's.
That's an excellent thing. And I know online, if people want to look online, the menus do have allergy friendly sections, but if you need more details, more information, then certainly the cast members will definitely help you. Yeah.
And then, for instance, I'm really gutted because recently I found out words 2020 I found out that they do Dole Whip now at Disneyland Paris, and I was so happy. And they done it in the tubs, but now because of recycling and stuff, they don't do it in the tubs, they just do it in the cones. So now I can't have it.
Oh no.
I know.
On the tub with you and ask them to fill your tub with Dole Whip.
I didn't think of doing that at the time, but it's so like devastating. I was so upset.
Well, I mean, I know we've focused quite a lot on negative things tonight, but is there anything you would like to say? That I think in Disney, regardless of who you are, you can have a great time. And I know we've kind of concentrated on the negative, but you both still love Disney. You both go back to Disney various parks all the time. So just to finish up with, give me lots of positives.
Oh gosh.
It is the most magical place in the world. It really is. Like, my kids talk about Disney all day, every day. They want to go back again and again and again. Estella is pestering me, going, when are we going to Disney? When are we going to Disney? Hayden's counting down the days till we're back on the cruise ship. It's just, the negativity doesn't come from Disney. It comes from some of the people that are in Disney.
And
I would say for
those
me,
people are everywhere, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. I mean, we've experienced it in UK theme parks. We've experienced it at the zoo. I've experienced it at the supermarket. You know, I've experienced it in my own hometown when Hayden's been having an absolute meltdown and old ladies have been tutting at my parenting and saying, you know, making comments because they just don't understand. And it doesn't matter where you are going to get some kind of negativity. And I think what puts a lot of people off with going to Disney is it's such a big thing. There's so many things that you have to think about and you have to plan, and you know, it can seem very, very overwhelming for people, and a lot of people go, I just can't do it. And we have some friends whose daughter's autistic, and they fret so much about taking her away. And we've just said, just do it. Do it. Just book the trip. Just take them on the plane, take them on the train, book the trip. Book a couple of nights to start with. You've just got to do it. We love traveling. We want to travel. We want to see the world. And the only way we can do that is as a family. You know what I mean? That's the only way we want to do it as a family. Is every single day going to be perfect? No, every single day at home isn't perfect. My children have had a meltdown every single day this week. You know what I mean? It's just life. Like I said, just because you're at Disney doesn't mean to say that your children's personalities are going to change. But when my children are in their happy place, they are happier. And when mummy's in a happy place, mummy's a lot happier as well. So in general, we are happier when we are in our happy place, and that is traveling, and that's going to Disney. So
Emma, anything to add on to that one?
I don't feel that our chat has been negative, to be honest. I feel that it's been positive because I've learned from Sam, and hopefully she's learned a bit from me. And I think that the chat have also learned, and you guys yourself, we've all learned something together. And I think that's actually a positive. And I think it's just the people, like Sam was saying, it's the people that make it negative, whereas there's also people that make it positive. So the best thing is, yes, plan. And if you've experienced negative, go, okay, right, that's happened, let's move on. And then absorb all the magic and the positivity that you have and focus on that. And then your trip will be the most magical thing.
You've got to do what works for you as well. If you know that yourself or your children cannot tolerate this, then just don't do it. Just because Instagram tells you you should doesn't mean to say that's what you have to do.
No,
exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, for example, everybody eats Mickey waffles.
Yeah.
Stella will not eat Mickey's face. She just won't do it. You know what I mean? And just because Instagram tells her that she's got to eat Mickey waffles doesn't mean to say that she's going to eat Mickey's face. You know, and I think that's the thing. I think there's this big tick list. Oh, I must do this, I must do that. And, you know, you don't have to do everything that's on the list. You know what I mean?
Do things for yourself. Don't do things because you feel like you have to and the pressure. It's your holiday, do what
Yeah.
you want. And if you do want to put it on social media, then fine. And don't feel upset when people go, oh, well, you shouldn't have done that because that's not good for the gram or whatever, because there will be people out there, even if it's just 1%, who appreciate what you're doing and feel happy that you're doing it.
Do you know what? I think people would be far happier if you actually put on the gram, I've had a rubbish day to day. Disney was appalling. Everybody had a meltdown. It was too hot. I was boiling. I was sick of them because it was awful. We don't feel a lot happier.
Yeah.
I think that's the thing, isn't it? You've just got to kind of like, that's what I want to do with like our channel and our Instagram, is kind of, you know, share the magic, but also share the reality that comes with it. You know what I mean? Like everybody wants that picture perfect photo of them and their family in front of the castle, looking absolutely ecstatic and happy. Like, do I have one of them? No. No. Estella's hiding her face. Hayden won't smile. You know what I mean? It's just that's just how it is. Every photo is a memory. It doesn't matter, you know, what it's like. As long as you're in it, that's all that matters.
Yeah. Is there anything else in the comments in the chat, Jay, before we wrap up?
I suppose the final question is coming from Stacey of Love to Explore. And she says, what are your best memories at Disney? So along the lines of what we've just been saying about the positive side, what's one of your best memories for both of you at Disney then?
Can I give two?
Yes.
Of course you can.
Okay. One is from when I was walking, and it was when I first skipped down Main Street, and basically that made Rob happy, and it made him realize he likes me more than he actually liked to admit. So that's that one. And the second, which is the biggest one, I think, is my first visit in a wheelchair, and Donald literally came up to me, hugged me, and literally twirled me around in a wheelchair and just danced with me, and I just felt like, wow, I'm normal again just for that bit. So yeah,
fantastic.
Love that. Yeah.
Sam?
I've kind of got like two, but one of them's kind of like a 2-in-1. So the first time both my children hugged Mickey Mouse.
Yeah.
So the first time Hayden hugged Mickey Mouse was at a character breakfast in Inventions in Disneyland Hotel. Cried like a baby. And then when Estella finally got to hug Mickey, she'd met him on the cruises, but it was COVID, there was no hugs. And she ran up and gave Mickey the biggest hug in Walt Disney World, and it was just the best thing ever. And I'd say my like overall family memory would be me, John, the kids, and my mum going on the staycation cruises on the Disney Magic. That like walking on the ship and being announced and just being there and just being so grateful that we were there and we were all together. That's the best memory ever.
And Disney makes the best memories.
I was about to say, do you know what, that kind of sums Disney up, doesn't it, with what you said, Emma, and what you said, Sam? That is Disney. You know, because
and when
some people just don't get that.
People say, why are you going to Disney again? It's there. You've just there.
That's kind of just wrapped up why people go to Disney, which is fantastic. And that's without a picture of a castle. So I think we've come to an end of today's episode. Sam, Emma, thank you ever so much. It's been absolutely fantastic that you've
Thank you for having us.
No problem at all, and also for sharing your experiences of what it's been like, and also the positivity that you sent through. And you were mentioning a few minutes ago, about can people just go and do this? I think actually the two of you will have helped people to, whoever watches this will help you just thought, sorry, we're going to do this.
Just do it.
Just
do it. You only live once. You know what I mean? I watched a thing on Instagram. You will never be as young as you are right now.
That's true.
Do it. Do it. Book the trip and go. You know, not just Disney, just anything that you've been thinking about that you want to do. You know, just do it. Don't be scared, because what is the worst that could happen?
Absolutely. Yeah.
And if anybody wants the socials, I've put Emma's and Sam's socials in the descriptions below. Please go and follow them. They've both got YouTube channels, Instagram accounts. Emma's got TikTok. Sam, I don't know if you've got TikTok.
No, I can't work TikTok. I'm so
But
I'm still learning.
Sam's got a blog where she blogs everything anyway, so I've put all that in the description.
yeah, I've got a blog page. Yeah.
Please give everybody a follow and a like, and I'm sure these ladies wouldn't mind, you know, if you've got questions that we haven't covered tonight, if you want to drop them a message. And
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to say that anyway, so yeah.
And you
Yeah.
both, you've both been absolute inspirations on there.
Thank you.
You really
Thank
have.
you.
It's been fantastic to hear just how you two are cracking on with, and I'm going to say, oh, let's just be normal, because you are normal.
Yeah.
What is normal at the end of the day?
What is
Exactly.
normal?
Yeah.
You're just
Yeah.
normal, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
And it's an
Yeah.
absolute privilege and a pleasure to have met you both tonight. Sarah's met you before. I
Well,
haven't.
I've met Emma.
Yeah.
Not Sam. We'll meet you one day.
But it's
We'll
been
have to.
fantastic.
You're not far from Alton Towers, are you? We'll have to do
not
an
at
Alton
all.
Towers trip.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
it.
definitely. So we're going to wrap up there. Thank you, everybody who's been interacting with the comments and
Yeah.
who's been watching. It's been an absolutely a fantastic episode
Yeah.
on there. So as I said before, this is where I do a bit of begging. I ask you to like. What did we go? Subscribe, didn't we? Because I went at this
Yeah,
last
no,
time.
that was a dolphin.
Subscribe and share, please. And we will see you next time.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you all.
Thank
This
you.
is
Bye.
where to
Bye.
end now because I don't know when to end the broadcast.
We just
Thanks, everyone. Bye.